Holly Marie Klaus sits in her home when the phone rings.
Ma'am, we've identified your parents. They were murdered in 1981.
Holly sits frozen, her mind trying to catch up. She has no memory of them, not of Texas, not of the strange events that took her from them. Moments later, she's on a video call. Dozens of faces fill the screen. Aunts, uncles, cousins, strangers, yet somehow family. But Holly has so many unanswered questions. How did her parents die? Who left her at that church? And could they have been her parents' killers?
In 2022, Holly Marie Klaus learns the name of her parents for the first time. Her father was Harold Dean Klaus Jr., and her mother was Tina Gail Lynn. In 1978, they met in New Smyrna Beach. At that time, Dean was 19 and Tina just 15. They married a year later. 7 months after that, they had their first and only child, Holly Marie. Dean was a skilled cabinet maker, known for his precise work and strong hands. By the summer of 1980, he saw opportunity in Texas. The Dallas-Fort Worth area was growing fast, with new homes and businesses being built every week. With Tina and baby Holly, he left Florida behind and drove west to Louisville, a small but growing suburb north of Dallas. At first, they stayed with Dean's cousin while saving for a place of their own. Soon, they settled into a modest home, making plans for steady work, new friends, and a fresh start for their young family. It seemed like the beginning of something good, but within months, everything would change. By late October 1980, Dean and Tina's regular phone calls and letters to their families stopped without warning. At first, relatives thought it might just be the distance, or that they were busy settling into their new life. But as the weeks passed, concern began to grow. In January 1981, Dean's mother, Donna Casasanta, received a strange phone call. A woman who called herself Sister Susan. She claimed Dean and Tina had joined her religious group and no longer wished to speak to their families. She offered to return their car, a red 1978 AMC Concorde, in exchange for $1,000. Donna and Dean's sister, Debbie Brooks, agreed to meet her. The meeting was arranged at night in the parking lot of the Daytona International Speedway in Florida. Several people arrived wearing long robes, but only Sister Susan spoke. She repeated that Dean and Tina wanted no further contact, then handed over the car keys. Before the meeting, the family had gone to the police. They explained everything: who they were meeting, where, when, and why. It was a precaution in case the situation turned dangerous. But here's the problem. Today, there is no official record that this warning was ever given. No report, no written statement, nothing. It's as if the meeting never existed. For a family desperate to find their missing loved ones, that missing report isn't just an oversight. It's a major red flag, one that might have erased an early opportunity to investigate what really happened to Dean and Tina. After that night, there were no letters, no phone calls, and no visits from Dean or Tina. They had vanished. On January 12, 1981, in northern Harris County, a man was near a wooded, swampy area just outside the Houston city limits when his dog ran into the trees. Moments later, the dog came back carrying a decomposing human arm. The man immediately called the police. Officers arrived and began searching the woods. Not far from where the arm was found, they discovered two bodies lying close together. The man had been bound and gagged, then beaten to death. The woman had been strangled. Both had been dead for weeks, possibly 2 months. A bloodied towel and a pair of gym shorts were found nearby. The area was about 250 miles south of the couple's last known home in Louisville, Texas. How they got there was unknown. With no identification and no missing persons reports that matched, they were called the Harris County Does and buried in unmarked graves. After Dean and Tina were buried in 1981, their case went cold. In 2011, investigators exhumed their remains to collect DNA, hoping new technology might help. Their profiles were entered into national databases, but no matches came back. Nearly a decade later, in late 2020, the case was given to Identifinders International, a team of forensic genealogists. Using the GED Match database, they traced the man's DNA to distant relatives in Kentucky, which led to the Klaus family in Florida. Within 10 days, they identified the man as Harold Dean Klaus Jr. Shortly after, they confirmed the woman was his wife, Tina Gail Lynn Klaus. When the family was told, they asked the question no one was expecting. What happened to the baby? For over 40 years, Holly Marie Klaus was missing, and she didn't even know it. When her parents' bodies were found in January 1981, there was no sign of their baby. At the time, some believed her small body may have been carried away by animals or overlooked by investigators. Others suspected she had been kidnapped by her parents' killers. The truth was stranger. In November 1980, Holly had been left at a church in Yuma, Arizona, by two bare-feet women in white robes. They said they were members of a nomadic religious group that separated men and women, ate no meat, and avoided leather. They also claimed they had abandoned another baby at a laundromat. The church pastor, Philip McGoldrick, took the baby in. A woman handed him her birth certificate and a note, supposedly from Dean, giving up his parental rights. Holly was placed for adoption. She grew up in a loving home, unaware that she was a missing child or that her biological family had been searching for her for decades. Her adoptive family, including the pastor who took her in, were never considered suspects in her parents' murder. To protect her privacy, little had been shared about her life. It is known she was married for 20 years, raised 5 children, and had 2 young grandchildren. In June 2022, investigators found her in Oklahoma. It was her father's birthday. That same day, she learned the truth. Her parents were Dean and Tina Close, and they had been murdered in Texas in 1981. She met her biological relatives over a video call that night, and in person a few months later. The Christ family was a nomadic religious group founded by Charles Franklin Lightning Amen McHugh. They lived simply, traveling from place to place, often setting up camps in the desert. Members wore long white robes, kept their hair long, ate no meat, avoided leather, and separated men from women. They gave up all possessions and sometimes survived by digging through dumpsters. Holly Marie Klaus believed her parents were killed because they wanted to leave a religious cult, the Christ family. Her belief is based on two events, both deeply suspicious, that happened just before her parents were found dead. The first was a call from a woman who identified herself as Sister Susan. She told Dean's family that Dean and Tina had joined her religious group and wanted no further contact with relatives. She claimed they had given up all their possessions, including their car. Dean's family now believed the car's return was staged to make it seem Dean and Tina left willingly, halting any investigation. And in the same month, two barefoot women in white robes left baby Holly at a church in Yuma. They told Pastor Philip McGoldrick they were from a religious group and had once given up another baby. To Holly, the motive is clear. Her parents wanted out. In her view, leaving the Christ family meant risking their lives. Police have never confirmed the group's direct role in the murders, but the suspicion remains strong. The Klaus and Lynn families believe that someone who traveled with the Christ family in 1980 or 1981 knows the truth, even if they were not involved in the killings. Until that person comes forward, it's only a theory. But for Holly, it's the one that makes the most sense.